afternoon and welcome back to Q News. My name is Michael James and we are back for another afternoon with another interview with our latest evictee from RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. The competition is heating up and at this stage, everybody's only getting better and the hits get harder when the people start going home. And this one hit pretty hard. I wasn't expecting to have this interview so soon, but unfortunately joining me this afternoon is the incomparable Minnie Cooper. Good afternoon, darling.
Good afternoon.
Now, Minnie, I've been speculating, I've been doing the numbers and I've mentioned to some of the others that there's going to be a double save. I thought it might have, could have with some of the others. I was certain that this was a double save and I cannot believe that you're here.
Oh, do you know what's funny that you say that? I thought it was going to be a double save too. Because obviously you only see the cut on television. They deliberated for ages. It was really long. And then they said, Beverly, you stay. And then I went to say congratulations and Ru went, and I stopped. And I thought, oh, maybe it's a double save. And then it said Sashay away. And I was like, oh, it was a bit like that. It felt a bit like that. I thought it was going to be a double save.
God, that would have your heart in your throat when she said that, like.
Oh, I was like, because I really did want to say congratulations to Bev.
Yeah, I mean, the two of you turned out a fucking lip sync, as I loved it. It was just so different. Like, you were just like clown on acid, and it was fantastic. And Beverly was just killing it with whatever the fuck she was doing. It was magic to watch. What do you remember being in that moment and just like?
What do I remember being in that moment? It was so interesting watch, because I think it's the best thing I did on the show. So when I got eliminated, I was like, oh my God, my best wasn't enough, is the way I felt in that moment. Because I thought, God, she must have been bloody amazing behind me. Because I really felt like it was the best thing that I did as far as performance goes.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And I love with so much of our lip syncs we're seeing at the moment as well, is that everybody is so different. Nobody's trying to do the same thing at the same time. And that's what makes it so hard to read.
Well, and it was really interesting because I sort of knew I was going to be in the bottom for the lip sync. So I really thought about it. I didn't actually go in cold. I was like, okay, I'm on skates. I'm dressed as a clown. I may as well perform it as a clown. But apparently that was to my detriment, according to Michelle. I was like, what? Because I asked her about the lip sync because we do an interview afterwards. And I said, oh, what? I can't quite remember. It's all a bit of a blur. But I did ask her about it. And they said, oh, yes, because you performed it like a clown. And I was like, Michelle, I was dressed as a clown.
Yeah, that's pretty much a good way to play it.
Well, that's what I would think as well, but obviously not. Sashay away.
Now, you did make one comment. I'm sure somebody's going to pick you up on it soon if they haven't. You did say I'm probably the first one to roller skate down the runway. And then has somebody said the name's Robbie Turner to you yet?
No, I thought I was, but I didn't realize someone else had done it.
Yeah, I know it's hard to remember with all those seasons, but I heard you say that and went, oh, someone's going to be like, no, Robbie Turner.
No, I take it on Heelys. No, but they're on Heelys.
Oh, yeah, Robbie was in like original, I think, old school roller skates.
Yeah, I had Heelys on. So that's the first Heelys. So I think
that's a first.
Yeah, that's a first.
So let's go. Let's dive.
Someone else has done it as well. Actually, has done roller skates. Actually, I think someone else has as well.
Oh, there you go. Well, they're all drag queens on wheels. It's the new thing.
Yeah.
So let's roll it back a little bit. We kick off the episode again, and I love that Minnie Cooper was part of so many narratives. I think it made it so interesting because you generated so many conversations. And so the topic, I suppose, that came up was people fighting with Minnie or getting into a fight with Minnie. How do you feel about, I suppose, that label from the other queens that you were fighting with them?
Well, it's funny. I wasn't fighting with anyone. I don't think I was fighting with anyone. I just think I was... It's funny what they could call fighting. I think I'm just having discussions. Like with Aubrey, for example, that's not having a fight to me. But they were, and when it's what you don't see, is they were actually bitching behind my back and I called them out on it. Is that fighting? I just said, well, if you're upset, talk to me and we can talk about it. Don't bitch about me because that's not the way you resolve conflict. Then we'll have a problem. So, and I found it funny when she says, oh, I can't believe she's bringing this up. She knew exactly what we were talking about. I found that really odd.
Yeah, I found it interesting. I thought it was perhaps just different perspectives on how we handle conflict. And I think perhaps some of them weren't used to somebody being as direct as you were about that.
Yeah, and I prefer people, if you've got a problem, let's talk about it, because then you could, because we were both at fault. It's not a one-way street. I take my part in that, but I think it's unfair to go and talk about it and not talk to the person about it.
Absolutely. And when it comes down to some of those discussions, I think in some of the earlier episodes, I was talking to some of the others. Do you think that some of the emotions and those conversations you were having were really being, I suppose, amplified by that setting and
Oh,
the pressure you were feeling?
100%. And what I found really interesting, which I had no idea about, that Kong could also sense that I was being isolated by the group. So when you're one person being isolated by a group of people, what is a human response? Because I've never experienced that before ever in a group. It's like bullying at school. It's like this one little kid, and everybody's like, well, for whatever reason, is excluding this one person. What is the reaction of that? I'm a 50-year-old person. I'm either going to go like that or I'm going to retaliate. Is it retaliation? I don't know. I don't quite. The more I look at it, it's more like retaliation.
Yeah, it certainly just felt like, I suppose, an expression of an emotion more than it was any retaliation. What shot back?
Retaliation is probably not the right word,
That's
but
right.
it's definitely a powder keg.
Yeah, and speaking back to some of the other queens about that, and I suppose the difference and the disparity with the age, which is a discussion that you brought up, and the respect that comes with that. Um, do you think that it was deliberate, or is it that natural progression, I suppose, that happens sometimes when, the younger people click together, they talk about things like age, and they don't realize the effect that has on somebody who's feeling on the outside? Or do you think it was
Yeah,
a deliberate thing?
I don't think it was a deliberate thing. I think it was the nature of the beast of that environment, to be perfectly honest. Because I'm sure if that was a normal circumstance, they would not have. I walked into that room and we're all on an even playing field. If we were in a normal working environment, they could not treat me like that because I'd be a superior to them, but I wasn't in that environment. So you've got this person with all this experience. So what could they do? They could block, group up. I think that's my take on it. I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting pressure cooker situation, isn't it? Where it's not the real world. You're in an environment none of you are used to.
Yeah, and you give away basically all your what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, I'm a bit flighty. You give away. I gave away all my rights to be the way I think I should be treated. So I sit there and I go, you can exclude me, and I'm not in charge, so I can't say this. Hey guys, this is really wrong. You're excluding me. That's not acceptable. I wouldn't stand for that in a work environment if I saw that.
So, have you had much chance to reflect with the girls and with yourself since it's aired, and now since you've actually been able to watch it back, to, I suppose, reevaluate what that situation was like? And
Yes, 100%. Like someone like Molly, her and I have definitely become, because on the show I didn't know Molly, and here she is saying, "Oh, I'm going to give it to Minnie. She's going to turn." Molly, I don't even know you, and you're making these assumptions about me, which I think. What are you foundationing all this? This one altercation that I had with Aubrey. Do you think I'm like that 24/7? And in the end, after the show, we spoke about it, and she herself said, "I just got myself into this headspace, and I couldn't get myself out of it." And she wanted to win. She wanted to get to the end.
headspace is a big thing that you bring up that I've really sort of noticed that once we hit this episode, and we heard that confession from you on the runway, headspace seems to be the thing. You're sort of queen number 3 or 4 that we've really experienced that has got in their own head
Yeah.
based on this competition. How much, because I felt like you were so strong leading up to this episode, and even the beginning, you were with your Ellen and you were like, yeah, I'm going to
Oh,
kill it. And then on the runway, you were like, I'm really in my own head. And I was like, well, I'm hearing that from Beverly. We've heard that from Pomara. Like, it seems to be the thing with this season.
yeah, because what happened just prior to going to the runway, I had that altercation with Beverly, her saying that I threw her under the bus. And that
Right.
just threw me. And I had all of them at me. The whole group again, I was like, oh my God, this is just too much. A group of people, not just one person, a group of people. That's really hard to deal with. I don't know anybody else. It threw me. And I'm going to do a performance where I've got all that in my head. Like this whole group is just against me. So it felt like that's the way it felt like in that moment.
Definitely understand that. It's especially if you don't have your support people in anymore. You
Oh,
can't pick up the phone and call someone.
and it was interesting hearing Kong speak because I never knew Kong. I don't know if I mentioned this before because I've said it so many times today. Um, when Kong was at the table, when Molly was saying, "Oh, I wanted to get the rhythm to Minnie," and even Kong said in his very own words, "I can see that Minnie is being isolated by the group,"
I do remember
and
seeing
I
that.
had
Yeah.
no idea that he could see that.
Yeah, Kong is very, very perceptive, and the way that they were able to navigate those conversations and those
And
relationships in the workroom was very perceptive.
and it was funny because we have a psychologist with the show, and I was chatting to her about it, and she said, well, the reason why Con could see that, because he, as a person of color, would know what that feels like to be isolated. And I said, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, look, it was pleasure seeing you on there, and it was so devastating to see you go home and come undone then. But rewind a little bit. We were expecting to see you kill it in that snatch game. Rue was loving you,
I don't know what
loving
happened.
Ellen.
I don't know what happened. And I felt like I was doing everything he was asking me to do as well, which was super weird. So, yeah, it was just weird. It was super weird. But it's funny, in the moment, I felt, because I'm the type of person that I never leave. I gave my answer, I got that reaction. Okay, I'll leave it, move on to the next one. I'm like that with any form of comedy. You can't stick in what you've done in that moment. You have to move on to the next. And I felt like I was doing that, but nothing was landing, apparently.
We saw a lot, because obviously the edit is probably different to what you remember from the workroom as well. So we saw a lot of that one line, I'm Ellen, in there. Do you think that there was bigger jokes you missed the opportunity to do or might not have made it on air?
I have no idea. Well, from what I've gathered by the interview, two of the jokes that I thought were hilarious didn't make the edit. Which I find really interesting, because they were talking about, I thought, those jokes were hilarious, but they didn't make the edit.
Always the way, the damn edit.
Damn edit. And I hate to be that person to say blame it on the edit, but they were really I thought were two really funny jokes.
It was a good snatch game. There was a lot of energy there, and I think perhaps that's what happens sometimes, like that you can have a zinger, but if you've got someone like Liza who was in the room, that she can just suck the edit time out of everybody else because she was so there.
And you know what's interesting about Snatch Game? I wish they had a live audience, because as a comedian, you need something to bounce off, not just these three people over in the corner that aren't even looking at you. Like there's no engagement. You're basically facing front, they're facing front. And how do you have connection like that? It's really hard for any person.
And everybody else who's around you, it's not their job to be laughing at you.
No, that's exactly why would you? They weren't laughing at me in the workroom either.
Now, I don't think we got to hear in the workroom, but I'm curious, was there a backup character that you were going to do?
Well, it was interesting. I had Jeannie Little in the bag, but Rue never asked me about Jeannie Little, so I left it. So I was like, yeah,
darling,
I know.
darling.
I know, but I wasn't asked. I was the only one that wasn't asked for this second backup.
Do you think we would have had a different result if we got Jeannie?
Who knows? Hindsight is the thing, isn't it? I think so, probably. I could have been more myself, actually. Because I think we're very similar with my wit is very that quick wit Australian one-line humour, which suits very much Jeannie Little.
Absolutely. Oh God, she was there. I haven't heard that name in years.
I know.
So we have made it to the end of the episode. We've got you're going home. So reflecting back, I suppose, what was your most treasured moment in the show? Because there was a lot of moments with a lot of people in there, and I was hoping that you took something great away from your experience.
Actually, there's a few things I take. Making Rue laugh. There was something that did during the AIDS dress because I always intended to do that. And it's that thing of, it's funny that the show was about respect. Do you know what I mean? And then showing me respect. That was me showing respect to these people that had come before me. And they kept saying, oh, Minnie paved the way. Actually, I just hold the torch, actually. There are people before me that actually paved the way to be able to stand there and do what I actually do. And it's like, it was really important that I did that. And the person who made the dress was friends with them, Lex and Tallulah and Caroline. So it was a really important thing for me to do. And to say thank you to them, basically.
That dress was stunning. That was beautiful, and the message behind it. And I love that that's what you bring to the stage. And I love the diversity of the agent experience of the contestants, where you're able to bring those things and bring those messages through. That's so important.
Yeah, because it really hasn't affected that generation. The AIDS epidemic has not really hit them the way it hit. Because even though I never lost a load of friends to HIV, but when I was 15, my uncle passed away of HIV. So it's affected me in a way with all the shame that comes with being gay, which is really interesting.
Well, thank you so much for bringing that to the stage and to the show. And God, I wish we got to see more.
No, me too. I had more to show, believe it or
I was
not.
about to say, is there another outfit that you had in the bag that that was going to give us another one of those wow me moments?
I can't really tell you what it is. There was one challenge I was really looking forward to, but I can't tell you what it is.
Damn. Well, we will
I know.
wait and see. I'm sure. Are you going to do the Queen tradition of the Instagram reveal of the outfit when the episode
Yes,
airs?
I will do all that. I'm a bit behind. I've got to shoot my other outfits, but that's okay. I'll shoot them within time.
Yeah,
it's not a cheap process.
I can imagine. And going back to your relationships with the queens on the show, we were talking about fond memories. Is there anyone you walked away from the show and you're not going to talk to them again? You're done?
I think that's pretty obvious.
We'll leave that one left unsaid.
Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. And it was the intent behind that person. They were told something. The person who told Pamara what I'd said, they were actually bitching about Pamara. And then they did not actually tell Pamara the full story. And I just said that as like a read, a comment. And it would have been hurtful to hear out of context. And if we were having a reading challenge on the show, that would have been my read for Pamara. So I actually find that really malicious, that we're going on this television show that's going on in front of millions of people, that's what someone wanted to do. I just find that really quite vindictive and malicious.
That's unfortunate, and hopefully bridges will be mended in the future. You've got a tour to go on later on this year, so...
Oh, it's all right. I can cope.
Oh,
but I can have to say there's many people that I love in the show, like Kong, Yuri, Spanky, adorable.
That was my next question. So somebody I want to talk to, but who is the person that your shining star out of the entire cast?
Spanky and Kong and I got along really well, but I would say Yuri. Like, and it's really strange. It's sort of, our connection is really odd, but we're sort of almost like outcasts in different kind of ways, like because of Yuri's gift of talent of her runways was also very threatening, which I don't think you really see on camera, but the girls were nervous of Yuri, very much so.
She's very much a dark horse, very quiet in the background. She's coming for you.
So funny. Like, and I was so happy to see her win the roasting challenge because she's so funny.
Yes, I did that. Come! Oh, she was a delight. Honestly, there has been so much to love about this season, Minnie Cooper, and it has been an absolute pleasure to have you as part of that. Can you tell me, is there anything else we need to look out for that we can see from you in the future? Where to for Minnie?
I'll look out for my one-woman show, and you'll get to discover the life of what it was like for a little old boy growing up in the western suburbs and turning into a female crossdresser.
Beautiful. Is that state specific, or are you going to tour it nationally?
I'm going to tour it around. I'm starting in New Zealand. I'm going there on the 9th of September. I'm starting there. So.
Oh, beautiful. Have you got a title for the show?
Yeah, from chorus boy to leading lady.
Chorus boy to leading lady. I love it.
Yeah, well, me too. That's why I said it.
Well, make sure you go and follow Minnie Cooper on all of the social medias, and of course follow Qnews on the social medias and press the buttons to subscribe and watch more of our fantastic interviews. Minnie Cooper, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
As per usual, we will be back next week with more fantastic interviews from our next evictee from RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. Stay tuned, click the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. As always, I'm Michael James for Qnews.